What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast, episode 62. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Chris Rivers. Chris, please tell me you didn't have overtime this week.
No overtime this week.
Back to normal?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what I was wanting to hear. Good. How was that?
Different. Of course, the first weekend not having overtime in a while is the weekend that the time changes.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds
yeah.
about right. Yeah, we're having a 3-year-old. She's struggling from that, too, so...
Yeah. Do you think they'll get rid of daylight savings?
No, not in America.
You don't think so?
No, I don't know. I wish they would,
Yeah.
because I'm tired of it. We're the only country that does it. So, but for some reason,
Canada does it.
do they do it too?
Yeah.
Well, they need to quit it too. All right, North America just needs to calm down and figure it out and get rid of it. So,
I agree.
I hate it. I'm okay with the sun doing what it does now, but just I'm done with it.
I think if they're going to keep it, the Monday after the time changes should be a national holiday.
I absolutely agree. Let
There you
everybody's
go.
body get adjusted to
Yeah.
it, especially with like a
Yeah.
3-year-old. The 3-year-old is not
Mhm.
having it. She's very fussy today, and that's probably why. So, and I don't like it.
Yeah. No.
Quick housekeeping before we get into the bulk of the show. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for podcasting apps, including Spotify. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, just make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know how we can improve the show to help you make it better for you. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. There's a couple different tiers there. If you want to toss a couple dollars our way, that's the way to do it. A couple little goodies there as well. And TV. Were we able to watch anything new this week?
Not in TV, no.
Well, let me tell you, Chris, it has been a busy week. All right. We caught up on Celebrity Big Brother. Garbage show. I don't think I'll be watching Celebrity Big Brother from here on out. A
Right.
lot of them acted like spoiled babies at the finale, and I'm just like, come on.
Sounds like normal.
Yeah. So, like, normal celebrity nonsense. Let's see. We're caught up on Bachelor. Horrible, horrible Bachelor. The finale is this week coming up. I can't wait just to see, because he gets put in his place. Looks like from his dad and the other ladies that are left. And watching Last Kingdom. I am in season 3 of 5. 5 is the finale that just came out this past Wednesday. I tried watching them to get caught up. I am not anywhere close yet, so I'm going to keep trucking through that this week. And then Upload season 2 came out on Friday, which we talked about last week. And 7 episodes, about 30 minutes each. I think the finale was 38 minutes. But
Yeah.
we watched that in 2 sittings, Friday night and then Saturday morning. And just hope we don't have to wait 2 years for another season.
You think that was so short because of COVID?
I think so. Because, I mean, they only started filming summer of last year is when they started filming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's March 13th now, so, and the second season just dropped. But I think with COVID done now, because they have the ratings, it's a good show, but I just don't want to wait 2 years. Hopefully we don't have to. So,
Right.
don't want to jinx it. I'm trying to think anything other TV-wise. I watch more movies as well. Played some fun games that I can't wait to talk about. My new addiction. I think that's it TV-wise. It's just been real busy. Oh, they put Legend of Tomorrow. They put on Netflix, the newest season, which is, yeah, I know that we've talked about their turnaround times before from the finale to Netflix, but this was the same week. I'm like, well, within a week span, I'm like, Jesus. I mean, give me a break,
Yeah.
okay? I need time to watch other things. I'm not complaining. CW, don't listen to that. For real. Just keep doing what you're doing. Superman and Lois, Chris. Let's talk about it. Full-on spoilers for this bad boy. Superman and Lois, Season 2, Episode 7, Anti-Hero. Going into nerdsandbeyond.com by this one as well from Haley. Now, this, Chris, is the episode directed by our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. star, Elizabeth, and I'm blanking on her last name. Henstridge. I think she did a phenomenal job. And I mean, I want her back for more, and I think she will be back probably for more CW show stuff. But if she's going to be behind the camera, Chris, I'm really going to want her in front of the camera as well. I really like her. And I think she would do real well alongside like Caitlin from The Flash. And I mean, even she could be a good reporter or scientist for the 7734 that's in Superman and Lois. I think that she'd be a great scientist for that if she wants to stay in Superman and Lois. But I don't know. I like Elizabeth. Going in, nerdsandbeyond.com by Haley for their recap. Superman is in trouble. Superman wakes up in a cell next to Tal-Rho, who wonders how Superman ended up there. Lieutenant Anderson appears and says they have to give him full control. They have given him full control, which we know is a lie. If he tells him where he is, he can get out and go. Superman instead tells him about Alan to research her, but Anderson says it changes nothing. Once Anderson comes back, Superman still isn't ready to give up the location, so Anderson takes matters into his own hands and puts a kryptonite collar on Tal-Rho. Tal pleads with Clark to make the pain stop, and he finally budges, giving him the coordinates to his fortress, but not the one in the desert. This little Icelandic Fortress of Solitude, which I didn't know was still around, but you know. Tal knows this and speaks to him in Kryptonian. Clark says it will stall them, but Tal notes when they come back, Anderson is going to kill them anyways. The whole storyline with Tal and Superman, I love that, and I really wish we've got Tal-Rho in the more of the episodes. Like I think we are going to get it more, but this one every 4 or 3 episodes, it's okay.
Yeah,
but I like him a little bit more.
Yeah, you can sense the redemption arc for him coming, and that'll definitely be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm not a big fan of the Red Sun room. I'm okay with it, for a couple minutes, but for more than 10 minutes of the show, I'm just staring at the red hue. I'm like, okay, all right, let's change this up a little bit. I can't stare at this anymore. So, but I mean, it's necessary, and I get it. An Unwelcome New Beginning. Sarah helps her mom pack her dad's things. Lana apologizes because she never wanted her daughters to know what it felt like living in a broken home, coming from one herself. At school, Sarah denies a phone call from her dad. As Jordan comes to check on her, she's still upset and lashes out a little bit at Jordan. Listen, Jordan's getting the short end of the stick this whole season. And I know we're only 7 episodes in, but I mean, he's the perfect high school boyfriend. He's like, I'm here for you. And she lashes out a little bit. His whole brother's going through this drug issue. He's getting in trouble for it just because he knew. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's back this up a little bit.
But he's got superpowers.
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't really seen him. We saw him training last episode, but nothing's really come of that. I'm wanting more of a Smallville arc, if that makes any sense. Like how we had in Smallville, where there's a super bad guy. Well, Superman's caught up somewhere who has to stop it. Jordan does, and kind of do that whole high school thing that Clark used to do back in that show. I just really want that for him, to be honest. John's dealings catch up. Candace brings Jonathan another supply of the X-Kryptonite. Jonathan hands it back to her because he doesn't want to do this anymore. Just then, the police make their way to the school with the drug-sniffing dogs to find out more kids like Timmy are bringing it into the school. Candace panics because she can't get caught with it and it will ruin her life. So Jonathan, being the super hero he is, grabs it, assuming they won't check him because he's a good kid and that he'll be able to dump it until the dogs bark at him and he gets caught. Lois is losing her mind, and rightfully so. Jonathan tries to calm her down because the sheriff isn't pressing charges, but she's worried they may expel him from school. She sends them to their rooms because she's had enough disappointment for the day. And listen, let me tell you about some of that acting. It was truly phenomenal. And I loved every single bit from Jonathan and Lois in this episode.
Yeah, that was kind of a tough scene to watch in a way, because I think we've all been in a situation, not necessarily exactly like that, but where we've had a parent kind of having to talk that way to us. So,
and especially with him being like sticking to his guns and not telling them that it's Candace's. So,
which is admirable on one hand, but on the other, it's like, dude, she left you hanging with these drugs.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of text messages isn't going to fix it.
No. No.
Dude, it was, and like with the whole, kind of wrap this little bit of the arc up when Superman comes home from the day for being captured and arrested and everything, and he talks to him. I'm like, Jonathan, just tell him, and he doesn't ever tell him. Like I feel like it could have been, they're not mine, but they're somebody, and I would say like her family can't get caught with this because it's going to put them in even more trouble or something like that. Superman, and even Lois would understand to an extent, let me put it that way. But I think the favorite part, there's one part I'm trying to grab it in my brain because it's so scatterbrained right now. with Lois and it was Lois and Jonathan. Jonathan says, "Everybody here is great at something, but I'm not,"
Right.
and he wanted to feel that way. I was like, "Oh, that was so well said. It's so well written." And like I felt so bad for Jonathan in that moment, but I mean, I get it. We knew this was probably going to happen one way or the other, because everyone else is either super or like Lois is great at that, and he wanted to be great at something, whether it be football or whatever. And I felt so bad for Jonathan in that moment.
Yeah, and at the end, which I know we'll get there but you mentioned it when Clark goes to the goes to his room and he's talking to him. And as Clark walks out, it's like he's always been able to count on Clark to be
Mm-hmm.
like the calm voice of reason. And he's even amped up
Mm-hmm.
about it. And so as soon as Clark leaves, he just starts breaking down into tears because
Just
he doesn't
phenomenal.
have
Yeah.
anybody. He doesn't have anybody. So I'm just trying to figure out what is so special about Candace.
Oh no, my wife can't stand her. Like every time she's on screen, she's like, I just can't stand this girl. Well, she's so
It's
bad.
like
I'm like, yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
yeah. But hopefully we'll see what happens further on. Anderson fights back. Anderson is desperate to find Bizarro, Talon Superman, and he's going to do it. Then he's seen opening up the kryptonite supply lockers, and what do we find? Of course, some XK inhaler shocker. Anderson finds XK inhalers and is going to use them.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming at all. Superman and Tal are with their mom and Bizarro in Tal's fortress. Suddenly, Anderson appears and fights with Superman and Tal. And as he's about to shoot and kill Superman with the kryptonite bullets, Tal sees this and sacrifices himself to protect his brother. Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in this paragraph here. That was awesome. Like this
Yeah.
whole scene, like he throws a kryptonite grenade in, of course, but he doesn't know Bizarro's powers are flipped or anything, and so Superman gets knocked down because he's all juiced up on XK. Anderson is, and then Tal sees that he's about to get shot and killed, and he jumps in front of him. I mean, we're seeing a huge redemption arc style. We saw a little bit of it. Was it in the first or second episode of this season when we first saw
Yeah.
Tal? But then now seeing this arc of it, and he's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself because he almost died. He got shot 3 times right in the chest. I mean, they even say it here in a little bit. But I was like, oh, that's just very well done. And I like where we were getting at with this arc.
Yeah. Do you think he helps in some way? He helps Jonathan.
I hope so. Because as the forgotten, not so much loved brother kind of
Mm-hmm.
bond that they have, I think that could really work. I want Tal to be at home somehow. Like nobody knows really who he. I mean, people know who he is. He obviously was a big billionaire, but like nobody knows he's around. But he's still doing something. I don't know. I want him more in the storyline and not just to be killed off and thrown away.
We want him to be the Uncle Jesse of this Full
That's
House.
that's exactly what I want this Full House to be, Chris. However, Mitch gains too much strength. Let's see. Their mother lets Bizarro go to have him help protect her sons. He agrees to that and fights with Anderson. However, Mitch gains too much strength and crushes Bizarro, killing him. Superman disintegrates the bullet fragments that helps heal Taro by taking him to the sun. Afterward, Tal appears back in the cell. Take a step back a little bit on this paragraph. The fight scene between Anderson and Bizarro was again really well choreographed as well, because Anderson is smart. Like he's not a dumb general. He can easily
Oh,
figure out what's going on. And he said, "Oh, Kryptonite didn't do anything to him." And then somehow I forget how the XK initially affected him. I think it got crushed or something. He whiffed it in. He
yeah.
got weakened. Is what it was. And so he figures that out. He takes all the inhalers and starts smashing it against his face. Like he would take a puff and start smashing it against his head and realize it weakens him. And then he just chokes him out and kills him. I was like,
Yeah.
I saw this going a little bit differently, but this
Yeah.
clears up the whole Bizarro act. And I thought that was really well done as well. And then the conversation with Tal and Cal in the cell. He said, of course you'd bring me back here. He goes, I can't trust you right now. And then as he's walking out, Talro says, tell Jordan I'm sorry. And then Clark looks back and says, you're going to have to tell him yourself one day. I was like, okay, yeah. I like where this is going, and which
Yep.
hopefully he will. And if not be a mentor to him, or at least to Jonathan. Or I just want to be a part of the family. It's a big family show here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Interesting.
Clark reunites with Lois at home, looking forward to family dinner, but Lois has to break the unfortunate news to him. Poor Clark just supposed to come home and have some Chinese food, and everyone's like a little bit on edge. Grandpa and Lois are making eye contact with a little weird eye contact going on. Clark barges into John's room and asks him what he was thinking. He thought he taught them better. Tomorrow he's going to apologize to the principal, coach, and the football team. After that, they're going to have a long chat so John will never misrepresent this family again. And like you said earlier, it was a rough conversation for Jonathan. And even like he wouldn't give up Candace to Clark either. So I mean, it's a little rough. But
Yeah. I'm wondering what'll happen when he eventually does, or they'll trace it back to her family anyway,
right.
because Timmy got it from her.
Yeah.
Who's to say he's not going to try and save his butt?
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes a moot point, right?
Yep.
He's gonna take the fall for her. She's still gonna go up the river. Uh, I don't know, man. I just don't. I mean, I guess I get it. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
Um,
Teenager in love, man. Kids are
yeah,
dumb. I say to the day they
yeah,
die, kids are dumb.
definitely. Um,
We were all there though, so we've all been to that point.
but that was a really, really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Way that it flowed. I loved, and I don't know if this is in your recap. Are you done with
No,
the
the
recap?
recap's done.
Okay. Did not mention that great scene at the diner.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
when when Lana goes and in the middle of Jackass's
The
little
mayor's
yeah,
speech.
his little speech about family values.
Mm-hmm.
The way they draw these parallels to what's kind of going on in the political climate
Mm-hmm.
are very, very interesting.
They,
But yeah,
I love it, man.
she she completely like ripped that whole event apart for him
Oh yeah,
because you
and
could
everyone's
see,
got up, started getting up and leaving at that point too. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll take this win.
yeah,
And then
loved it.
like Eric Valdez is the guy's name who plays the dad and on that family. Cortez, I forget his first name now. Kyle.
Kyle.
But she's been ghosting him. Sarah's been ghosting her dad this whole episode, and at the end, she walks up to him as he's leaving a little convenience store gas station, and she said, "Can we talk?" And he said, "Yeah, baby girl." And just the emotion in his face. I mean, he hadn't been the whole episode, and in
Right.
that one scene, I mean, he stole that whole ending scene for me with that. Like you could just tell as a father, he just broke down and was like, finally, he says she's gonna talk to me,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I hope things get resolved, but I hope that correctly. Let me put it that way, not just a
Yeah.
throwaway storyline.
Yeah.
So
I also couldn't help but think when Clark comes back home and he's talking about, I just want some Chinese food. I'm
yeah,
thinking, dude, you could just fly to China and get the
yeah,
real deal.
you can get the real stuff, not this American stuff.
And he could have it back before it had a chance to get cold.
Right. They could have ate it on the way home.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for next week. I can't wait for it. But we will have to wait. But we do have some news as we go into the rest of our TV section here. There is another Walking Dead spin-off in the works starring
Uh,
Negan and Maggie. Who you telling? I'm going to Polygon.com. This is by Nicole Carpenter for this one. Lauren Cohen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan will star in a new Walking Dead spinoff called Isle of the Dead, AMC announced on Monday. The show is expected to be out in 2023, will center on Cohen and Morgan's respective characters, Maggie and Negan, as they travel to Manhattan, which has since been cut off from the mainland. Quote, the crumbling city is filled with the dead and denizens who have made New York City their own world full of anarchy, danger, beauty, and terror, AMC said in the news release. It will premiere on both AMC and AMC Plus, with 6 episodes making up the first season. Now, Chris, for several years ago, a lot of where the Walking Dead fans fell off was when Negan kills Glenn, who is Maggie's husband.
uh-huh.
So, I mean, how did we get to this point where they're breaking off and making their own show?
Uh,
I
I
think I've
mean,
missed some things. But
she uh she came around, I guess. I
yeah,
don't know.
I'm missing like 6 seasons, I feel like, at this point of story.
Yeah. I have no idea. I think they're just, hey, here's two fan favorite characters.
Hmm.
Let's pair them up and put them
It's
in. I don't
Thomas
think
and Martha Wayne.
I don't think that they are thinking about what people want.
Yeah. I mean, they people
Because
have to still
they
be watching the show and the spinoff at this point if they got enough money and viewership to make another one. So,
or they're hoping to bring people back
uh, I can
by
see that.
having a show centered around Negan.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, what a movement
I
The Walking
just
Dead was.
I just kind of feel like different types of characters go through cycles,
Hmm.
right? I feel like the zombie cycle's over,
Right.
and now we're almost coming back to, I don't know, are we coming back to vampires or ghosts or
Well, see, I don't know. I mean, they're making that new Supernatural show, the
yeah,
prequel.
so
Uh,
demons maybe?
Yeah, I see. I don't know where we're at this point. I mean, I think we're still, for the most part, movie wise, we're still big on superheroes and action movies,
Hmm.
as far as that's concerned. TV wise, I really don't know what the world is at. I mean, I know CBS big show right now is Ghost. It's a real
Uh-huh.
good one. I'm trying to
Right.
think of. I mean, you still got your crime shows, but I don't. I'm with you. Zombies. I feel like that's kind of come and gone at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Walking Dead proper ending this year, I mean, it makes sense to make a spinoff. But how many people are you gonna have come to that?
Right. I mean, from a film perspective too, look at it this way. Both well, Marvel and Sony, we'll count them separately, are each putting their own vampires, right? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
getting Morbius and we're getting Blade, who
Allegedly,
is a vampire, but is also a vampire hunter.
right?
Um, so I don't know, man. I think the zombie thing is, which we may get Marvel zombies too, but
Yeah.
it's going to be like a one and done on those probably. So
We'll
I
see.
don't know.
It's
I
crazy to
I
watch
think
how the
they're
trends change over time. You know what I mean? And it's like
yeah
it's what we pay attention to as well, though. I mean, with paying attention as closely as pop culture and nerdy pop culture on top of that, what's the regular world watching? You know what I mean? Like what's
yeah.
everybody else doing? Because we're obviously big on Superman Lois, Flash, and everything. So who knows what's? I love watching the trends change like that. Everyone
Hmm.
said it was a while ago when like the first Avengers came out. I think there was a lot of popular directors and creators and things like that saying, "Oh, well, superhero movies will go the way of the westerns and they'll just disappear in a couple of years." Well, here we are, 10 years later, still pumping on strong and still making more money than anybody else does
Yeah.
right now. So,
And some of the biggest properties they have to use
right.
are in the pipeline. We haven't even seen them yet.
Mm-mm.
So
That's still. Oh, I'm so excited for the future. Speaking of the future, number two, Vikings Valhalla is returning for season 2 and season 3. They announced that on the official Vikings Twitter this week, and oh, that brought me so much joy. I even retweeted it out and said something along with it. The account liked it as well. I said, "Yeah, I've made it big, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I've made it big." So, but they actually start filming for season. They're filming season 2 and 3 back to back from what I've heard, and they start
yeah.
filming again this summer. Which I'm like, yes, that means we're gonna get it faster and sooner. And then this one is really exciting for us because we will be talking about this show and I'm sure doing a weekly recap for it as well. Casting for Gotham Knights are here. Going to deadline.com by Dennis Petsky for this one. Oscar Morgan from Day Son Vivant, Olivia Rose Keegan from Days of Our Lives, and Navia Robinson, Raven's Home, are set as series regulars in the CW's DC Universe set Gotham Knights pilot. They joined previously announced Fallon Smith and Tyler DeChiara. I don't know if we've ever covered that, or if it was never really mentioned on my timeline. So, written by Batwoman trio Chad Fiviesh, James Storrow, and Natalie Abrams, Gotham Knights picks up in the aftermath of Bruce Wayne's murder, with his rebellious adopted son forging an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies when they are all framed for killing the Caped Crusader. As the city's most wanted criminals, the renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their names, but in a Gotham with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. However, hope comes from the most unexpected of places, as this team of mismatched fugitives will become its next generation of saviors known as the Gotham Knights. Morgan will play Turner Hayes despite the murder of his biological parents. Turner remains resilient and driven to live into his billionaire adoptive father's name. While charming and soulful, Turner has never quite felt comfortable in this world of wealth and privilege. Keegan will portray Duela, abrasive, unpredictable, and a little unhinged. Duela is above all a survivor. Born in Arkham Asylum and abandoned by her father, the most dangerous man in Gotham. They never have a name for this. Duela forged herself into a brutal fighter and skilled thief. And then Robinson plays Carrie Kelly. Fearless, idealistic, and plucky as hell, Carrie talked her way into being Batman's unlikely sidekick. If there's a burning building or a person in need, she's the first to rush in just as long as she's home by curfew. So, question for you here. If Batwoman is in Gotham, this show is going to be in Gotham. And they've already connected the TV multiverse with Crisis. How is this going to work?
I don't know.
So that's just where, when I'm reading that and thinking about that, it just makes me think. I don't know if they're going to do the whole Superman and Lois thing, where it's in the world but not in the world. So I don't know how that works, because there's obviously a Bizarro world.
Are they putting both on the same planet, on the same Earth?
See, I don't know. That's what Crisis was. Crisis was they joined all the planets. I don't know. Unless this takes place before Crisis, and who knows.
They joined all the planets, but now in Superman and Lois, we're dealing with,
some Bizarro world.
People saying, on my world, on your planet, and they're like, okay, yeah, there's multiple planets. So again, it's like, I don't know what DC's doing. There's no trusted continuity.
Nope. There used to be with their Arrow shows, but not so much anymore.
Yeah.
So, releases this week: Tuesday, March 15th, Young Rock Season 2 premieres on NBC. And then Sunday, March 20th, Riverdale returns back to the CW. I forget what season it is, so I apologize, but it is coming back on Sunday. New night, actually, Sunday night. So
Sunday. Okay. On to movies.
So sorry, I saw something on my shirt, and I was like, what is that? So, I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were just wanting to show off your Coke shirt.
No, this one's not from Coke. I bought this one myself.
So on to film. Have you watched anything?
Yes, and it is called. Sorry, I'm pulling up the add-on projects IMDb, so I make sure I talk about the actors and actresses correctly. Turning Red, the new Disney Pixar movie, that for some reason all the basic white women in the South are having a big issue with, because
all the Karens.
Yes, it's getting bad, because like I don't get on Facebook hardly ever unless I get tagged in something, or unless I have a notification. I don't get on Facebook. And so my wife was telling me all about this. There's like people that are, one lady brought it up. She watched this because she came to Disney Plus this weekend and watched it with her kids, and was very appalled because it takes place in Toronto in 2002. It is a French Asian family that live in Toronto, and they own a temple, the longest running temple, Chinese temple in Toronto, and they take care of it. And at the beginning, they were talking about things. This 13-year-old girl, and one of the biggest things are, because of course here in the South, everyone here is like hugely Christian, which is fine. But when you're dealing with a different culture, but when you're dealing with a different culture, people don't like that, especially when it comes to their stuff. And I put that in air quotations for those who are not video watchers. But because they open it up, they're talking about the temple, and she says, here we don't praise the gods, plural. They said we praise our ancestors, which is very common in that culture.
Right.
But everyone's like, oh, they don't even praise gods, they praise people, and it's so very unchristian. Like, I'm like, again, not your family we're talking about here. And it's just, there's that, and like they're talking about it's an encouraging rebellion for teenage girls to not listen to their parents. And I'm just like, Little Mermaid, Finding Nemo. I mean, it's really annoying. Overall, great movie. I really enjoyed this movie. The animation from Pixar has gotten so good. Like what it is this family has a curse / gift. It depends how you look at it. That once you're of an age of a certain age of a girl, you turn into a red panda because their ancestor way back then made a deal with the gods, and you turn into a red panda. She did it to protect her village way back then, but now like they have a ritual, they can block it and things like that. But that's where the storyline takes place. The girl turns into a panda for the first time in middle school, and
Oh.
but the
In the middle of class?
not the first time, but she does though. So yeah, it's really good. If everyone's I say if you love Pixar movies, watch it because it's great. The animation is phenomenal. Like the individual hairs on the panda and everything looks so real and so real. It's great. I think for me, I think I gave it a 4 stars or 3.5 stars on Letterboxd earlier. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which one it was, but it was high up there. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's all I've watched so far.
People are just
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Chris. I wish you could. If I find it or if Jamie sees it again, I will have her tag you in it in the comments or something because dude, it's
oh
it's it's nuts. And I'm like, oh god, why?
yeah,
Why is this a thing? So yeah, it's
yeah,
people are crazy,
yeah. You got people who claim to be of a faith
dude. It's
and they don't like brown people, but
yeah,
then the person that they claim to worship was brown. I
yeah.
don't
That it's
it
we could do a whole 3 hour podcast or 12 hour podcast just on all that. So
the hypocrisy of it all is
right.
just
What about you, Chris? What have you been watching this week?
uh so I watched Leprechaun 4 in space.
Interesting. See, I didn't get to
Yeah.
it this week. I really wanted to, or it was last week. I think I'm really going to sit down and I might do it. Alexa, when is St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day is 4 days away, on Thursday, March 17th.
Thursday. I might sit down and watch it Thursday. Just watch it on the first one and see where we go from there. So,
Yeah. So 4 is a bit of a challenge to watch. It's like with all the movies, they're made better because of Warwick Davis's performance as the Leprechaun, right? But how they get that they never explain if this is the same Leprechaun and he's somehow made it onto another planet,
mm,
or if there are planets with other leprechauns. Like they don't because this came out in 96. So back then they were not as like today with how everything is interconnected and they would explain this,
right.
right? But here they were just like, "Oh, let's take the leprechaun and put him on another planet." And
Just
he's
don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Don't think about
yeah,
it.
you're overthinking it.
Right.
So we see the leprechaun with Princess Serena, whose father is a king, and the leprechaun has kidnapped her and is basically getting her to agree to marry him by showing her all his gold and jewels and everything.
Mm,
And his plan is when they're married, he'll be a prince. Then they'll kill her father and ascend to the throne as king
right.
and queen. Which once she sees all the gold and jewels, she's okay with. Um,
Because why not? You know.
and yeah, so we do find out later on because it's the 90s, and of course, any kind of 90s horror film, they wanted to find a way to work a little nudity in there, right?
Mm,
So apparently on her planet, if a female member of the royal family shows their breast to you, it means that you are uh, deemed you've been given a death sentence.
oh,
So she
I mean,
does this
I
at
get
one
the
point.
logic tracks. I mean, I get it.
So it has Warwick Davis. Princess Serena is played by Rebecca Carlton, who her biggest credit aside from this was I think she was on a few episodes over a couple years of Baywatch.
Mm,
Um, Jessica Collins is in this as Tina. She gained most of her fame on daytime soap operas.
mm.
Um, but a name that a lot of people will recognize, Debbie Dunning, is in this as let's see what's her character. Dolores is her character name. She's one of the Marines that's on the spaceship.
Of
Most
course.
people will remember her as Heidi, the second Tool Time girl on Home Improvement,
Oh, okay.
the brunette.
Yeah.
So she's in this, and this would have been during her run on that show. So the story goes that these Marines are after the leprechaun because he's been killing people. And so they go to this planet. The special effects in this film are not good. It's the mid 90s, and they're not even great for the mid 90s,
Oh no, that's not good.
which the director did the audio commentary track and admitted it. He kept calling attention to it when it would come up. Um, so they throw a grenade over where the leprechaun and the princess are. The leprechaun tells her to get down. She loses a hand in the process, right?
Oh,
But we find out that she can regenerate, so she's fine. The leprechaun is
plot twist.
blown to bits. The leprechaun's blown up in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. Um, and here's where we get to some of the roll your eyes at the story elements of this. If you weren't already rolling them.
Right.
One of the guys goes over, one of the Marines goes over and decides that he's going to confirm his kill. So he starts to pee on one of the leprechaun's feet.
Oh,
And we see this green uh, special effect start to travel upward from the foot. And basically what this is the leprechaun's being, his essence, has traveled in through the guy's pee hole, we'll say.
your urethra, for those of you in the medical
Yeah.
field.
And later on, I'm telling you, man, later on, as he and the Dolores character are making out, he starts having these intense pains down there. And at first he thinks it's her being rough,
Right.
and it's not. The leprechaun basically comes out of him,
Oh, I'm sure explodes and
kill,
everything.
which kills him,
Yeah, of course.
obviously.
Yeah.
But that's how the leprechaun gets on their ship.
Will
So
I be?
the um, not a great not a great film.
Yeah.
As you could probably tell.
Of your
It's
rankings, though, of the ones that you've watched so far, how do you rank it?
oh, it's last
It's last
four.
number 4.
Yeah, yeah, number 4, and probably number 5 and 6. This one just didn't hit home. Again, one thing that was interesting is if you're someone's familiar with Shakespeare, you'll catch that they gave the leprechaun little Shakespearean quotes
Hmm.
to say. So, I mean, that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. There's just not a lot there. And it's some of those silly moments.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a comedy horror, so they do intend for it to be lighthearted in ways, but come on, man. Like it it's not an easy watch. It's one of those that I'll only ever watch it again if if I'm watching the whole franchise.
Right.
I think I gave it. This would have been like a star and a half,
Ooh.
but again, Warwick Davis kind of he
Yeah.
elevated it a little bit. So I put it in at a 2 on Letterboxd.
It's close to Thunder
Next up,
Force.
yeah, there you go. There's another one. Um, Next up will be Leprechaun in the Hood, followed
I'm
by
excited about that
Leprechaun
one.
Back to the Hood, and then I believe it's Origins, which doesn't have Warwick Davis, so I'm worried about that one. The only ones I had not seen prior to this run through was Origins. So I've seen all the others at least once, but I'm being re-exposed to things that I'd probably in some cases willingly suppressed.
Right. Willingly.
But yeah, again, you know, it's worth watching just to see what in the hell they were doing,
Right.
but I wouldn't go back to it
Yeah.
in and of itself. Okay, on to our film of the week, The Atom Project, starring Ryan Reynolds. This was a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
You
Can't do
get
spoilers
Ryan
for this one
Reynolds.
because it's brand new, but
Yeah,
we can
you get
overview
Ryan
it.
Reynolds. You get Jennifer Garner. I did not look into the cast list or anything before I sat down to watch it. So when they showed the photos of his character as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's Mark Ruffalo.
Yep.
So Mark Ruffalo is in the film.
I think
Uh,
him and Ryan Reynolds were the only ones I was from the trailer kind of paid attention to.
Aware of.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, they had like one little dance scene with him in
Hmm.
the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay. And then we come into it, and then freaking Gamora is in the movie, Zoe Saldana,
Hmm.
and then Jennifer Garner. I was like, man, this is packed. I mean, they had a lot of good people in this movie.
I need to go back at some point and watch it to see if I missed any references to some of their past projects, like with Jennifer Garner, Elektra,
There was
Ruffalo's Marvel references or
they had a
anything like
Deadpool reference, if not just
that.
they had
Okay,
a Deadpool reference in this movie,
okay.
and it
Um,
was. We'll talk about it after we record.
let me since we're not doing spoilers, let me just read the synopsis here because if I riff it, I'll end up probably saying more than I should. After accidentally crash landing in 2022, time traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed, played by Ryan Reynolds, teams up with his 12-year-old self for a mission to save the future. So that's
If I really enjoyed this movie, and if you like any of Ryan Reynolds, because I feel like Ryan Reynolds plays for the most part the same character in a lot of his movies,
right.
and
Yeah.
this one's not really any exception. But the
Hmm.
12-year-old played by Walker Scoble took the movie away from me. Like
Yeah.
hilarious. Like if you would have told me that that's Ryan Reynolds' kid in real life, I'd be like, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Like mannerisms, the way he said things, and which obviously shows his acting abilities. The kids,
Right.
it was so funny. Like there were so many like back and forths between them, and I was like, yes, this is great. Story wise, to me, great. A lot of it made sense, and they got real theoretical with some things, but made sense to a point. Uh, it started off a little slow-ish for me, but then
Yeah.
at a certain point, it happens about halfway through. That kind of ramps up and just starts running with it, and I was like, yeah. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed this movie. For me, I gave it a 4 stars out of 5. I really
I
enjoyed
think I
it, and
did.
I want more. I don't know if it will, but I do want more.
I think I gave it a 3.5. Um, it was really fun. I'll never be able to look at a goatee and not think of the term mouth mullet again.
And the whole time, because I shaved to a goatee this weekend, and then we watched that movie. I was like, well, no, I wish I didn't do this. So,
A mouth mullet.
a mouth
I'm
mullet.
just like, yeah.
Yep, I agree. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
and especially when he calls her date, or her date's like says something to him, and he's like, "Nice mouth mullet."
Yeah, he goes,
He's like,
I've never heard it called that before. Oh, it was great.
um, I will say, man, it everything else was sort of status quo.
Hmm.
The one scene that really got me was the last scene with Mark Ruffalo in it, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh God."
It hit hard. My wife, very emotional, and I love her to death. But when that happened, just eyes bawling. I was like, yeah. I mean, I get
Yeah,
it. I really get it.
the
So,
the look on his face, like the moment in and of itself would have been enough, but then he just sells it with that
hmm,
look, and it's like, oh
yep.
God. Um, And I'll say this about it. I feel like it dealt better with the whole idea of time travel than a lot of the movies that we've
Hmm.
watched. Um, it made as much sense as anything could when
Right.
dealing with time travel. So,
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, and I know it's one we've been waiting for since they released the trailer for it. And Netflix even put up on their main account over this weekend of the kid Walker doing the monologue from the very beginning monologue of Deadpool, talking about like cussing and everything, sitting in the back because there's a car ride in the film, and behind the scenes, Ryan Reynolds pulls his phone out, and Walker is monologuing like the first 15 minutes of Deadpool, like talking about Hugh Jackman and everything. And Ryan Reynolds is, you can tell him he's sitting there filming it, not knowing. I don't think Walker knew he was filming it. And you can see Ryan Reynolds just trying to hold in a laugh because this kid has memorized in monologue like 15 minutes of Deadpool. It's just the funniest thing. You can easily find it on Twitter. Just go to the Netflix account and find it. But it is so funny. And I saw that originally when they were filming it in 2020. And I was like, oh no, this movie's about to be crazy. Little did I know it was going to be 2 years till we got it. But it still great. So
yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. You gave it a 4,
mm-hmm.
right? I gave it a 3.5. On to the news, but first, the next show we're going to be reviewing The Harder They Fall, which is on Netflix.
I'm
Idris Elba.
excited about this one.
It looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
The preview for it played, or the trailer, right after the Adam Project finished, and I was like, "What is this?"
Right.
Okay,
I
yeah,
remember it coming out, just never. I think there was something else going on that week or two, and just completely forgot about it.
yeah.
So,
I think it'll be good. Um, so you mentioned Deadpool.
mm-hmm.
Let me get this news story pulled up here from the Hollywood Reporter and Ryan Parker. Deadpool 3, Sean Levy to direct Ryan Reynolds in Marvel movie. Screenwriters Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are returning to the franchise after working on the first two. That's smart. Um, Sean Levy's in negotiations to team up with star Ryan Reynolds for the Marvel property after previously collaborating on 20th Century's pandemic-era hit Free Guy and the just-released sci-fi adventure movie The Adam Project on Netflix. Fans have been champing at the bit for another chapter in the raunchy, violent, and of course hilarious Deadpool series since the 2018 sequel, which added Josh Brolin as Cable and Zazie Beetz as Domino. First record-breaking Deadpool in 2016 was directed by Tim Miller. The sequel was helmed by David Leitch.
This is
Um,
great and says a lot to, because I mean, Maximum Effort Studios is Ryan Reynolds Studios, and the fact that
mhm.
he's like, okay, we did so good. I liked you so much on these two movies. Let's bring you in for Deadpool 3, and,
Yeah,
and from especially watching the Adam Project this past weekend, um, I'm all in. Absolutely. I mean, it's great, and I feel like he's going to do a good job with it. So,
yeah, yeah. It's when you find somebody you've got that sort of chemistry with, you got to keep rolling with it. And obviously, from those two films, it shows they work well together. So, um, next up, from a news site, I don't think we've done one from this
mm-mm.
site before. Uh, from Geek Girl Authority, posted by Noeta Harjo. It says Florence Pugh and Austin Butler in talks to join Dune sequel. It's been a few months since Denis Villeneuve's Dune premiered in theaters and on HBO Max, and it's about time we started talking about casting for the sequel, especially since the Part 1 cast was basically cut in half. It was announced this week Florence Pugh and Austin Butler are in talks to join the epic saga. And it says possible spoilers ahead, so I won't go
Yeah.
into that. But of course, Florence Pugh, we've talked about thanks to Black Widow and Hawkeye and her role in Marvel as Yelena.
Mm-hmm.
And then Austin Butler, I think we talked about on the last show
Mm-hmm. Talk about his
with
Elvis movie.
the uh, with the Elvis trailer that dropped from Baz Luhrmann. So I think they're gonna do
I'm so
well with it.
excited. I mean,
It's
you still have, pretty much your main characters from the first part, part one.
right.
And I'm like, yeah. I talked about it so much last year. I can't get enough of Dune. And then you add these two characters into it, or these two cast members. I'm like, yep. I
Hmm.
mean, you didn't have to sell me on it, but you're selling me more on it, so I'm ready.
Yep. Next up from Timothy Adams at comicbook.com. Check him out. Warner Brothers delays The Flash and Aquaman 2. Um, they've both been delayed, pushing their release dates to 2023. This follows news of Black Adam and DC League of Super Pets also changing their previously announced dates. Jason Momoa's Aquaman 2 will now land on March 17th, 2023, while Ezra Miller's multiversal adventure as Flash races to June 23rd, 2023. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the sequel to Zach Levi's 2019 film, is moving from 2023 to December 12th, 2022. And another Warner Brothers flick, Timothy Chalamet's Willy Wonka, is also receiving a new release date of December 15th, 2023. That's one I want to see.
Hmm.
That's um
I don't think
it was
I don't think the Flash movie is real. I don't think it is. I mean, it's been talked about for how many years now, if not decades at this point, and
yeah.
I don't think it's real. There's no way that it is.
The- I I don't understand why they would flip the other stuff around, but I kind of wonder because it was what, a month ago? Ezra Miller was tweeting at a KKK group that
Hmm.
hasn't even been active for decades
Right.
and was saying he was saying we, whoever we is, would just kill him if that's what it took to like what I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't know. And I kind of wonder if they're distancing themselves and like, okay, let's give this, but it was still going to be later this year, so
Right.
I don't.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense
Seems
to
weird.
me. Jason Aquaman 2, I kind of get because that was supposed to come out in December of this year. Uh, Shazam being pushed up. The director, I can't remember his name right now, who was making it, said, "Well, he goes, we're going to go ahead and talk about this." He said the characters have a suit change. The not Shazam, but everybody else, his family does. Like the
Hmm.
colors of their suit change and everything. He goes, originally we had it on the witchiness, from the stuff of Flashpoint was
Right.
why it changed because they're still set in the same universe. He said, but now he said we're just going to say it's going to be on witches. He said, so I apologize in advance. He said, but we were supposed to use Flashpoint for that. Is what happened in it. He goes, we're directly can't talk about it. He says, but what's Shazam doing with witches? We're just going to say it's witches now. That's why their outfits changed. I said, huh.
Okay.
I'm sure that will get pushback in the future. People are gonna be like, well, why their suits changed and they don't explain it in the movie. So we will see.
Yeah. Um, again, that's something that you kind of feel like if they had that big of a, I mean, it's the suits, so is it really a big plot point? But I mean, it kind of is because that's the suit's iconic for Shazam.
Yeah.
So, um, I feel like again, I hate to beat a dead horse because I always, for one, bring it up. You bring it up sometimes too, and Marvel wouldn't do this.
Right.
Marvel would
The
say, well,
12 steps ahead.
this needs to come before this.
Right.
Now, they did the deal with Black Widow and Falcon and Winter Soldier with I can never say I mean, I can say it if I can remember it. Julia Louis Dreyfus's character,
Mm-hmm.
um, Allegra de Fontaine. Um, we were supposed to see her first at the end of Black Widow, but we saw her in Falcon and Winter Soldier because Black Widow got delayed.
Either one of them still, you know, didn't really make too much of a difference because they never
Right.
referenced anything. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's our first like Marvel blunder, I guess if you want to call it that.
and
But
they knew it was happening, so it really was.
yeah,
But had it been a much more major uh, event that needed to go in a certain order, they would have just pushed everything back.
Right.
They wouldn't have. I don't know.
Yeah, if it would have
I'm
been
like
if
you.
Hawkeye or something was slated to come out before Black Widow, then there would have been a big of an issue there. But
Yeah.
so
Now, if it is something to do with Ezra Miller, the reason the Flash has been pushed way back, could they recast that?
see, honestly, at this point, I don't know because
Because
this movie has gone through so many directors, so many writers at this point, and I don't know.
I mean, I would assume they've already been filming it if it was supposed to come out this year.
Right. It should be filming. I think should be done. But
So by pushing it back almost another year, they could bring in a new Flash and just work them into the other scenes.
right. I don't see it. 2021 they were filming. Yeah, it wrapped filming in October last year.
October of 21 it wrapped filming, and they're not going to bring it out till what about that in
Yeah.
2023?
Yeah. That,
So
let's see, when did they push that back? They pushed it back to June. God.
So
No comment.
I just don't know. There's no releases this week. Yeah, just that's
Just
mind-boggling.
yeah, that sounds about right. Flashpoint.
On to
Brothers.
games.
Video games. Chris, have you been able to play anything fun this week?
No, not this week. I like I said, I've been cutting into the gaming time a little bit to work in some more movies. And
Well, Chris, let me tell you, I have been playing something new. This little game called Elden Ring came out back in February. Everybody, I feel like, is talking about this game. So, for those of you who don't know, it's like a Dark Soulsy, very hard, very difficult, does not hold your hand video game. And what I mean by that is, you go into it, there's somewhat of a little tutorial path that you can do, and then you open up into the world, and they just say, "Have fun." Do what you want to do. No objectives, no side objectives. Like all that's on your screen is your map, and no, there's not even a map in the corner. Is your health bar, your inventory, and your buffs, and that's it. And that's it. So I have played some of these FromSoft games before, like Bloodborne and things. I have enjoyed them. Not really my cup of tea. Like I've never gotten anywhere close to beating any of these games because it is really hard. This game
how
though, do it.
how do you beat a game with no objectives?
Well, there's certain big main bosses you do, but like you have to pay attention
Okay.
to the world kind of thing. And it is fun. Like it is addicting fun. I got it on I think it was Thursday or Friday, and I've already put 15 hours into the game maybe. And I can't stop playing it. Like you play it and you lose time because your progress and how you level up are called runes. But if you die, you lose your runes where you die at, and you start back off at a checkpoint, and you have to go back and get those runes to get them and to level up and things. But if you die on your way back to go get those, you lose them forever, and it's punishing, but it's fun. And I like this one a lot more because it's open world. So like if you find that big main boss and you're like, oh, I am way too under level for that, you can go do something else. Like the big main boss, I think is Margit, Margit is the first one. I have found him. I have fought him 2 or 3 times. I said, I can't beat this guy right now. And so that was, 10 hours ago in the game. And I've been doing other things, fighting other sub bosses. It's a lot of fun. And if you've played any of the Dark Souls games or any of the FromSoft games and you enjoyed it, but it was just a little too difficult for you, I said, this is it for you. Like, this is great. It's the #1 selling game of the year. I know we're only in the beginning of March, but it's the top selling game of all year. I mean, we've already had a lot of big blockbusters come out so far, but it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to keep playing it. And like, I haven't played any Horizon this week. I've been wanting to go through and try and get some more trophies, get the platinum. I can't. I've been stuck in this seat. And I'm like, I can't stop playing this game. And it bothers me because all the people that are very big into FromSoft games are still playing it, 100, 150 hours in and just now beating it because they're doing other things. And I'm like, I don't know if I have that kind of time right now but
Yeah.
I'm going to play it for as long as it holds my interest, and which, as it's going right now, is going to be a very long time. It's really fun. So,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I like
That's
it.
cool.
Something else I really like, Chris, this is a big one, but probably the biggest news story. I've got 2 news stories here, and this is my favorite one so far. There is a live-action God of War series in the works. We're going to IGN.com for this one, and this is by Matt Kim. Amazon Prime Video will potentially expand their video game TV series lineup with none other than a God of War live-action series. According to Deadline, Prime Video is in talks with PlayStation to adapt God of War as a live-action TV series. The Expanse creators and executive producers Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby, as well as the Wheel of Time producer Raphael Judkins, are all looking to join the adaptation. So still in talks, still very early on, but I cannot wait because, I mean, everyone's been speculating for casting. I don't have anything yet, but that I've really enjoyed. But it's going to be crazy because this comes up with if finalized, God of War will join The Last of Us and Twisted Metal as the latest PlayStation exclusives to make the jump to live-action TV, not counting some of the other flagship games adapted for the big screen like Uncharted and the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima movie. I keep forgetting that's a thing. But
would you go with completely live-action Kratos, or would you do some CG related similar to Thanos in the Marvel movies?
See, I don't know, man. Either one I'd be okay with, honestly. If they did it as great as like Thanos, production wise. But a lot of people have been asking, do you go with the 2018 God of War, or do you go from the very beginning of Spartan God of War? I feel like the 2018 one is more so that will get more audience in, and you can have flashback episodes or flashback moments to those things. And if they want to do a prequel, they can do a prequel. But I feel like to get let's just get some Slum Joe from anywhere to watch the show. No one knows anything about the video games. I feel like the 2018, the Viking Valhalla stuff is what you want to go with first, because I feel like that story is more adaptable for TV, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. See, I played the OG.
OG's fun. Frustrating, but fun.
Yeah. So that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if they'll make that call too, based on the fact that you've got Vikings Valhalla out there,
You've got your Viking show right now, pretty popular.
Do we want to put a lot of Viking content out, or do we want to do something different? No one's doing Spartan,
right? And then lean into it down the road.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the Ghost of Tsushima movie. Completely forgot about that. But if
Dwayne
this becomes
Johnson
a thing,
is Kratos.
Right, dude. If this is it brings me hope, because if this is a thing and becomes reality, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be, that means we're going to get a Horizon show or movie at some point, because they're putting all their IPs in forming it. Twisted Metal, Last of Us now, God of War potentially. I mean, God of War, Last of Us, and Horizon are your pretty big titles for PlayStation, and I'm all in if they want to. I mean, Horizon's still my favorite video game, so I say bring it on. And speaking of bringing it on, do I?
All of it.
All of it. I just want to give me all the content. And speaking of content, Super Nintendo World will open in 2023 at Universal Studios Hollywood. Because, they get everything out there on the West Coast. It's fine. Not a big deal. Japan's just a couple miles away. But sure, let's put it over there in California. Notable new releases this week. The GTA 5 and Online comes to next gen on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. And then Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin comes out on everything but the Switch on March 18th. But guys, thank you all so much for listening and watching this week's episode of the show. We will return in 2 weeks, and I will explain why when we get there. But in 2 weeks, we'll be back. But make sure you watch the movie this week, which is The Heart of a Fall. Idris Elba on Netflix. And don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms as podcasts. And don't forget to rate and review us as well. On social media, you can follow us at nerd_wide. You can follow me at Ty_Haynes. And you can follow Chris at MavTN7. All 3 of those are on Twitter. And you can always go to facebook.com/type in nerdwide.com, and you will find us there. Make sure you give us a follow there as well if you do.
By the way,
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yes.
do not Google Nerdwide videos accidentally.
Oh, no.
I had someone do that, and instead of if you just Nerdwide, it takes you to our stuff.
Okay.
Nerdwide videos brings up a bunch of porn.
Oh, yeah,
So,
don't do that. I'm definitely
we're
not
not
going to do
in
that here in a
those.
minute. Definitely not going to do that here in a minute just to see. But guys, this has been the Nerdwide Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We cannot wait to see you in 2 weeks. We'll have 2 episodes of Superman and Lois to talk about and our movie, and we will see you then. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Later, guys.